Today, we are going to be watching a documentary about one of the greatest Spanish clubs in the world. Today, we will be watching a documentary of Real Madrid, the success and the failure of the Galácticos Era in the early 2000s. Everyone get your popcorn, get the video to 1,000 likes, comment down below what's your favorite moments in this documentary, and get comfortable. Let's go.
Madrid's Galácticos era in the beginning of the century can be a controversial topic. Was it a story of success in transforming a club into a global brand? Or was it a story of failure in how to build a balanced team to compete on the field? Did the business ambitions exceed the footballing goals? This is the story of the success and failure of the Galácticos era.
Roberto Carlos Villatovic, gol, ha marcado
Gol.
Madrid, ha marcado Villatovic, minuto 21.
Ahí se va solo Raúl que se va a plantar ante Cañizares, galopada atravesando medio campo, Cañizares frente a él, Raúl que se va, le dribla y marca el tercero del Real Madrid. Sitúa ya un 3-0 imposible para el Valencia.
After winning the Champions League twice in the last 3 years, Real Madrid president Lorenzo Sanz entered the upcoming presidential elections in the summer of 2000 brimming with confidence. But behind those triumphs, there were many underlying problems. The first being the debt problems which were accumulated in the last few years at that time and got to a high figure of 278 million euros. Also, the club was struggling to attract the fans in the stadium in the late 90s, as tickets were a hard sale and the Santiago Bernabeu was almost never filled, despite numerous discounts and other season ticket incentives. And because of that, one of the most richest men in Spain, Florentino Perez, saw an opening in the elections after losing in 1995 against Ramon Mendoza. His goals were clear: saving the club from the accumulated debts which may damage Madrid's ability to compete on the field. But his chances of winning were slim. That's why he made a historic promise to the socios. If I win the presidency, I'll bring Luis Figo from Barcelona. And if I fail in that, I'll pay the cost of all season tickets for the socios. That was Florentino's pitch, and the result? Perez won after getting over 55% of the votes, and Figo was presented days later, as a new era has begun for Real Madrid.
Aura.
Perez wanted to replicate the glory of the 50s, as ex-president Santiago Bernabeu has done when he brought all the best stars to Madrid, names like Di Stefano, Puskás, and Copa. And he started by bringing back Di Stefano as an honorary president. The business ambitions were evident from the beginning, as Figo became the first player in history who agrees on selling 50% of his image rights to the club. But Florentino's number one goal was still clearing the debts attached to the club, as he was quoted in September of 2000 saying that the club is financially in a critical position. That's why he focused on fixing this problem in the summer quickly. And the first step was selling fan favorite Fernando Redondo to Milan for 17 million euros, which sparked anger between the fans and even from his teammates. It's important to note that Redondo was a big supporter of ex-president Lorenzo Sanz and had a strong presence in the locker rooms as well. Nicolas Anelka was sold to Paris as well after a single and troublesome season. But
I never knew that Anelka played for Real Madrid. I always just remembered him as a Chelsea player.
these transfers were not enough to clear the accumulated debt,
course.
and Perez didn't want to take the stock market option to gather funds. That's why the operation will take some time. But on the footballing side, many reinforcements were made by the new sporting director Jorge Valdano, as transfers like Makelele and Solari were made in the summer. And led by Vicente Del Bosque, Madrid started the season exceptionally well, and Figo was one of the main catalysts for that. But quickly came a tough and early test for the Portuguese and Madrid, as Los Merengues went to the fiery Camp Nou after Figo's recent treason, as the culés see it. And the fans welcomed their former star with passionate anger.
Honestly, like, I ain't gonna lie, let's be honest, this is what you're going to get. Like, when you do a move like this, Figo, you probably knew this was gonna happen.
Madrid lost the match by 2 goals and continued to lose 2 of the next 3 matches as well, to spark an endless stream of criticism. But Los Merengues was back on track in no time, as they won an impressive 8 consecutive matches in La Liga. And within that streak, Madrid went to Tokyo to compete in the formerly known Intercontinental Cup against a Boca Juniors side led by manager Carlos Bianchi. And after Riquelme's impressive showing, along with goals of Palermo, Madrid lost the title, as Perez was concerned with how Madrid's loss affected their ability to capture the Asian market. But Florentino came back to receive the award for Club of the Century from FIFA, along with Di Stefano, who was one of the major to capture the Asian market. But Florentino came back to receive the award for Club
United at second, Bayern at third
of the Century from FIFA, along with Di Stefano, who was one of the major factors for winning that award. Following a vital win in January at Valencia, Figo was presented with the prestigious Ballon d'Or. And despite a draw at the Bernabeu against Barcelona, Madrid was the favorite to obtain the La Liga, thanks to efforts of top goalscorer Raúl González. And Del Bosque's formation gave Guti attacking freedom on the pitch to assist his Spanish compatriot, as it was Guti's best scoring season as well. The reasons for giving some players this much freedom in the attack goes back to the rigid duo in the middle of the pitch, Makelele, and for most of the season, HYDRA. And following a win against Galatasaray in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, Madrid faced a known foe, Bayern München. And Los Merengues entered the match with a touch of arrogance and overconfidence, as McManaman said in his biography that the team prepares for European matches by watching a single 15-minute video of the foe, and it's not even edited down. Madrid proceeded to lose at home in the first leg thanks to a great performance by Oliver Kahn.
Denied by Kahn.
And went and confirmed their exit in the second leg as they lost by 2-1. Huge disappointment was quickly followed by happiness, as Madrid's City Council approved Florentino's request in changing the club's training ground from a green land used specifically for sporting activities to a constructible land used for business, which ultimately led to a big jump in value. Madrid won the league after a great showing against Alaves by 5 goals, to lift their first league title since 1997. The following day, another big victory was achieved for Perez, as the City Council approved the selling of the training ground, which was just converted to a constructible area, as Madrid earned approximately 446 million euros from this deal, which cleared what's left of the club's debt from past management, and also gave Madrid the chance to build a new training ground for a cheaper price, which eventually opened new doors for Perez to invest additional money into the team. And his first step was acquiring the signature of Zinedine Zidane.
Wow.
The story of how Zidane signed for Madrid started in the Euro Gala in August of 2000, as Perez passed a simple question on a napkin for Zidane: would you like to play for Real Madrid? Zidane passed back his reply on the napkin, which said yes. So Florentino came back for the Frenchman in the summer of 2001, and after tough negotiations between Moggi and Valdano, Madrid were obliged to break the transfer record to buy Zidane from Juventus. Perez wanted to bring the best in the world, and above that, the names that will attract the global fans, as he wanted to pass Manchester United in terms of commercial revenue. Zidane agreed to exchange 90% of his image rights to Madrid for a salary of nearly 5 million euros a year after taxes. Perez and Madrid planned for a special year, as Los Merengues will celebrate their 100-year anniversary of the club's inception, as many events were planned for the whole calendar year. But management saw that the best way to celebrate this special season was to win the treble for the first time in the club's history. As Figo mentioned that the Champions League final will be held at Hampden Park, the same stadium that Alfredo Di Stefano and co won their 5th European Cup. So the Portuguese saw that La Novena will be their destiny. But Del Bosque had a problem. Where will Zidane fit in the lineup? And where are the defensive transfers? The media had the same question with regards to the Frenchman, as Zidane played at Juve and for France in a position that is non-existent at Madrid. So after a poor start to the season, as Madrid were a single point away from the relegation spots after 6 matches, a lot of criticism was targeting the Frenchman, especially after Madrid won their first 4 matches in the Champions League without Zidane because of suspension after being sent off with Juve last season. But the Frenchman quickly proved the critics wrong and finally showed his value.
Golazo de Zinedine Zidane en estos últimos.
Julio César, la llegada de Zidane dentro del área, lo que ha hecho Zidane, impresionante lo que ha...
Madrid were back on track after Del Bosque found the right lineup, as they snatched the lead in January after many important wins, and especially against Barcelona in the Santiago Bernabeu. But after 2 consecutive losses, the title race was getting pretty interesting, as 4 points separated the leaders Valencia from Bilbao in 8th position. And the Spanish Federation approved on changing the date for the Copa del Rey final to coincide with the centenary anniversary of Madrid on the 6th of March, as the final will be played at the Santiago Bernabeu. At that time, the Copa del Rey didn't get much attention from the biggest clubs in Spain, but because of the treble aspirations and also the centenary anniversary, Madrid got to the final to face Deportivo. Against the odds, El Superdepor managed to crash Madrid's party as they won by 2 goals and lifted the cup in the Santiago Bernabeu.
Campeón de la Copa de Su Majestad el Rey.
That's embarrassing.
And after a draw at the Camp Nou, Madrid were now level on points with Valencia. And in the Champions League, Madrid faced Bayern München again, this time in the quarter-finals. And after losing by 2 goals to 1 at Munich, Los Blancos managed to stage a comeback in a tense second leg after scoring 2 goals, as they confirmed their 3rd consecutive semi-final berth, as Madrid faced a struggling Barca team and won relatively easily by 3 goals to 1 across 2 legs. But their double ambitions were fading as they lost 3 out of the next 5 matches in La Liga to hand the title to Valencia, led by Rafael Benitez. And now nothing other than a Champions League title will save Los Blancos' season, which was supposed to be special. Los Merengues will now go to Hampden Park 42 years after Madrid achieved their 5th title in Scotland, as they'll face Bayer Leverkusen, who entered the match in similar circumstances, as they lost the Bundesliga title in the last match and then lost the German Cup just 4 days before this final. So both teams were fully motivated for this match. Raúl opened the scoring in the opening minutes, but Leverkusen quickly equalized with Losiu's header. And before half-time, Zinedine Zidane wrote his place in Madrid's history.
Cuelga la pelota, ojo a Zidane.
After losing his place in the starting lineup at the back end of the season, Casillas was subbed in for the injured Cesar and managed to make numerous important saves to ensure that La Nueva was achieved by Los Merengues.
La Copa al Cielo, el Madrid levanta su novena Copa de Europa. Esto es un cartel.
Wow.
Perez and Valdano said after the final that there were no stars to buy in the transfer market, which was a sensible move as Del Bosque was begging for new defenders after both Carranca and Campo left the club. But locker room issues were present as Makelele, who's regarded by Zidane as the most important player on the field, felt that he was underappreciated in terms of his salary. And here lies the main problem with the president's policy, which was initially named as Zidane's e-pavons, which means the policy of buying stars who are paid high salaries but have the ability to repay that money back through commercial revenues. And the squad is then filled with youth products like Pavon, whom are paid with very low salaries to balance out the team. The problem with this policy is that it creates a middle class of players who don't get the attention and respect they deserve from management and media alike. And Solari was quoted saying that the president's policy may cause the extinction of the middle class. The other problem is the confidence that management shows to the youth products, but not every player will be on par with Raul, Guti and Casillas. But instead of buying defenders and closing the gaps within the team, Perez wanted Ronaldo to be the newest Galáctico, especially after his return from injury and starring in the World Cup.
And Ronaldo is rampant now.
Madrid's interest in Ronaldo started at the end of the transfer market in August of 2002. And after many offers were turned down by Moratti, in came Joan Gaspar to avenge for what happened a couple of years ago with Figo's transfer. Perez wanted additional funds to satisfy Moratti's demands for Ronaldo, and Gaspar came in at the right time and offered 15 million euros for Morientes, who was out of favor and didn't play much at all. But the question was, why is Barcelona lending a hand to Madrid? An hour before the market closes, Gaspar withdrew his offer to leave Perez without any money to fund the Ronaldo transfer. But what actually happened was that he saved Madrid 10 million euros because Moratti bought Crespo and had an abundance of strikers in his disposal. So as the clock was ticking, Ronaldo's price was dropping, and in the end Moratti agreed to sell the Brazilian for 35 million euros plus
R9 going for 35 million euros? This gotta be cap.
Solari or 10 million euros in December. But as Solari refused to transfer, Moratti wanted his 10 million, but Perez hasn't paid since. Madrid finally brought their Galáctico for this season, but it was evident later on that Ronaldo came injured. And after missing the first 3 matches, he entered from the bench in the 4th match and managed to score 2 goals as the expectations were through the roof. But in reality, Madrid struggled, and especially Ronaldo in the upcoming months after scoring a single goal in the next 6 matches. As he was whistled by the Bernabeu along with the team after a goalless draw against Real Sociedad. And then came the Clásico between the 5th and 10th position teams as Figo went back to the Camp Nou to receive a worse welcome than the one he received 2 years ago, as the 2 teams finished with a stalemate. Madrid went back to Tokyo again to compete for the Intercontinental Cup, as this time they won the title against Paraguayan outfit Olimpia. And Ronaldo came back to receive the Ballon d'Or for his performances in the World Cup in the summer. And following that trip, Los Merengues were back on track in the league as they lost only a single game in 22 matches in La Liga, as Ronaldo was back to his best despite his persisting fitness issues. Then Madrid faced United in the quarter-finals of the Champions League, which was a match filled with rumors about Beckham's potential summer transfer to Madrid. And after winning by 3-1 at the Santiago Bernabeu, the 2 teams entered Old Trafford to book a place in the next round. and all the questions surrounding Ronaldo from the fans were evaporated after a historic performance.
March on Ferdinand, Ronaldo shot!
Whoa.
Heartbreaker.
Serious goal.
Roberto Carlos, it's Ronaldo! He's made space for himself, Ronaldo
No way,
shot!
hat
Pick that out. What a
Hat-trick.
hat-trick. Scored by the Argentine Santiago Solari, and huge applause from Manchester United and Real Madrid fans alike.
Following this tough test, Madrid faced another tougher test in the semi-finals against Juventus. And the series was filled with absences and injuries, as Raúl missed the first leg, which Madrid won by 2-1 in the Santiago Bernabeu. Then Los Blancos went to the Dele Alpi without Makelele's services after a suspension, and Madrid were handed a beating as they conceded 3 goals and Buffon saved Figo's penalty.
Attenzione, para Buffon! Para Buffon!
And after picking up an injury in the first leg, Ronaldo entered the match, but Los Merengues lost and were out of the competition. Media criticism piled up on Del Bosque after the match, and also the captain Hierro, who at 35 years of age was exposed athletically against Juventus. And Madrid were in danger of ending the season without a title after crashing out of the Copa del Rey, losing by 4 goals against Mallorca, and also losing a pivotal match against the underdogs of the season, Real Sociedad, who were competing for the title throughout the season. So after a tug of war between the two teams for the title, Los Blancos entered the last match, and nothing other than a win will gift them the league. But suddenly Madrid announced an unwelcome and untimely news, as Beckham signed with Madrid just days before the pivotal match, which made the manager and players very upset. But Valdano pleaded to the media that they had to announce the transfer now to kill all the rumors, and as United were a listed company. Madrid entered the match against Atletico Bilbao and did their job after scoring 3 goals. Del Bosque subbed the captain Hierro minutes before the end of the match to receive a big ovation from the crowd, and they were not aware that these would be Hierro's last steps in the Bernabeu as a Madrid player, as Los Merengues lifted a historic 29th title in La Liga. And McManaman mentioned in his biography that the after party was very tense, as there were many arguments initiated by Hierro and Raúl with management, especially as there were many rumors pointing to the decision of not extending Del Bosque's contract. So after a modest party the following day, Del Bosque was sacked by the club, and Hierro was not offered a contract extension as he left for Qatari club Al Rayyan. And with that, Madrid was an entirely different club. Ex-assistant of Alex Ferguson, Carlos Queiroz, took over managing duties, as Perez justified
Like, I must say, when it comes to business and the business side of things, and as much as you may not like Perez, you gotta admit that this guy's a genius and he knows what he's doing. Perez is a genius, man.
this decision by saying he wanted a more tactically astute manager, and David Beckham was introduced as the newest Galáctico, as this transfer proved that Florentino's intentions were purely driven by commercial goals. We all know Beckham is a special player with special qualities, but he shares the
I
same.
mean, like, how is he just successfully just attracting all these superstars to the club? I wonder what he used as leverage. Was it like, okay, probably, first getting Zidane through the door, it's like, okay, you're going to be playing with Figo. And then you get Ronaldo through the door, it's like, you're going to be playing with Zidane and Figo. Now with Beckham, it's like, yo, Beckham, you're going to be playing with, like, Zidane, Figo, or Ronaldo. Like, so it's like, After a while, it just gets easier and easier to keep attracting stars.
Position as Figo on the field and is considered a surplus to Madrid's needs in the lineup. The biggest evidence of the president's commercial and marketing intentions was the decision to discard one of the most important players in the lineup, Claude Makelele. Makelele was interviewed recently talking about his departure from Madrid, as he said after winning the league, Florentino promised him a new and improved extension. But after Beckham's transfer, Perez told him that there was no money left to hand him an extension. And Valdano told him in an aggressive manner that he's supposed to play for Madrid for free. And if he wanted to leave Los Blancos, he needs to get an offer of 15 million euros from another team. Makelele's importance to the team.
That was messed up. I'm not gonna lie. Treating Makelele like that is ridiculous, bro. He's not some monkey slave that y'all could whip. Okay? That's why he had to come to Chelsea.
Was underestimated. His absence from the crucial match against Juve and the loss that resulted from that was not enough to convince management. So in came Chelsea and bought the Frenchman for 20 million euros.
Oh,
Madrid also sent the frustrated Morientes to Monaco on loan, and they didn't reinforce the defense for the second season in a row after failing to secure either Gabriel Milito nor Ayala. So after a very busy preseason for Madrid as they visited numerous East Asian countries on tour, the team came back exhausted. But Los Merengues started the season well, and after many wins, they finally won in December against Barca, which was their first league win at the Camp Nou since 1983, as they distanced themselves by 13 points from the Blaugrana. And despite playing numerous youth products in defense because of injuries, Madrid kept the momentum going, as Casillas was a big factor in that. Going into the end of February, Madrid were...
Damn, how long has Casillas been a keeper for Madrid, bro? This is 2004, you know.
Was still in the lead with a comforting gap, but this was the beginning of their historic slump. Starting with their match in the Copa del Rey final against Real Zaragoza, as Madrid lost after extra time. And after beating the ever-present Bavarian club and getting to the quarterfinals, Madrid faced Monaco. And following a 4-2 win for Madrid in the first leg at the Santiago Bernabeu, Los Blancos went to the Stade de Louis with huge confidence. And their confidence grew after Raúl scored in the first half. And now Monaco had to score. Madrid fell on the hands of Juli and the loaned out Morientes, and as they got back to La Liga duties, they lost the league lead after a 3-0 loss against Osasuna. And in the last 5 matches of the season, Los Blancos entered in a historic run for the wrong reasons, as they lost all their remaining 5 matches and finished in 4th position. And within those losses, they were defeated at the Santiago Bernabeu by Barcelona, who finished 2nd after a bad start to the season, as it signaled the beginning of a new era and the demise of another. Carlos Queiroz was sacked immediately, as Valdano resigned as well, and Perez brought in Antonio Camacho and immediately reinforced the defense with Samuel to enter the upcoming presidential elections with positive news. Florentino Perez won the elections again with the landslide advantage in terms of votes and vowed to reinforce the team.
Of course he did. He got rid of the depth and he brought in a bunch of superstars all over the world, right? So why would you not back him? Why would you not? I would back him still. I'd be like, yo, I have a lot of faith in this guy. Look at the team we have.
Again, after Samuel's transfer, the team was rumored to be interested in Emerson, Totti and Vieira, especially as Conceição and Cambiaso were sold and the defensive midfield position was getting thin. And Los Merengues owned 50% of Ito's contract, who was blossoming into a star at Mallorca. But new manager Camacho couldn't see how he would play as a starter, as Madrid agreed to sell him to Barcelona after long and tense negotiations for 27 million euros. Los Merengues looked for transfers in England again as they bought Michael Owen and Jonathan Woodgate, who was regarded as one of the best defenders in the Premier League. And Camacho was strict and liked to see discipline on the field, and he quickly figured out the problem with Madrid. But the solution to that problem could signal the end of his time at the capital. That's why after losing against Espanyol in only the third match in the league, and the match that saw some members of the Galácticos like Beckham and Raúl on the bench, Antonio Camacho resigned and was quoted saying that his work is not being reflected on the field and he can't get the most out of the team. Since the times of Del Bosque, there were many hints from Perez. If you don't play the stars on the field, you'll face big problems with the president. And newly appointed manager Ramon knew that well, as he wanted to play by the unwritten rules. But the team lacked balance on the field. They compete without a true defensive-minded midfielder and with many attacking outlets. Here is Madrid's lineup against Barcelona at the Camp Nou. The duo of Beckham and Guti in a more defensive role is never the best solution, as Madrid lost by 3 goals thanks to Ronaldinho and Eto's performances. And Perez tried to fix the issue by bringing in Arrigo Sacchi as a football director.
This is why you have to treat Claude Makelele like the superstar he actually was. He was actually a star, in my opinion. Claude Makelele, you underappreciated him.
And immediately after taking the job, Madrid lost at home against Sevilla, and Ramon was fired on the spot as Perez offered the job to Sacchi. The Italian refused immediately as he knew that Perez would interfere with the lineup. And Sacchi was recently quoted in an interview saying that if an airplane crashed in Colombia, Perez would blame the manager. Los Blancos brought their third manager of the season, the Brazilian Luxemburgo, who had a great relationship with the Brazilians on the team as he coached the Brazilian national team in the past. And Sacchi brought in Gravesen to fill the defensive midfield spot and bring balance to the team, as Los Merengues entered a winning streak which was extended to 7 matches. But they exited early in both the Copa del Rey and Champions League after extra time against Juve. But the team achieved a big 4-2 win in the Clásico against Barcelona. However, the Blaugrana still maintained a comfortable gap in the La Liga. And this was the match that signaled the beginning of Figo's rift with the Brazilian manager after being subbed in for the last 8 minutes. And the Portuguese didn't start once in the last 7 matches of the season, which opened the door to many rumors on his departure from the club, as Madrid ended another season without a title and in second place behind champions Barcelona. The new season started as the previous one has ended, as Figo's relationship was still complicated with the Brazilian manager. And after arriving with the team in pre-season, Figo didn't participate in any match, as Luxemburgo said that if any player wanted to leave, he should do so now.
Damn, bro, this is harsh.
And in the beginning of August, the first Galáctico left Los Blancos, as Luis Figo signed with Inter Milan, as the Portuguese was quoted saying that he was disappointed with the man who led the club. And both Samuel and Solari joined him at the Italian club as well. And after a somewhat good season, Owen went back to England. As for the arrivals, Los Blancos didn't bring a superstar. Rather, they brought numerous players like the Brazilian duo of Baptista and the young Robinho. And also the player who was labeled the first Spanish Galáctico, Sergio Ramos, at only 19 years of age, after paying his release clause, which was worth 27 million euros. And Madrid's start to the season was average, to say the least, as Jonathan Woodgate finally came back after a whole season out because of injuries. And in his first official match, he scored an own goal and was sent off after 2 cautions as well. But despite that, Los Blancos claimed the top spot after match day 7, as Barcelona had a bad start to the season. Then came the Blaugrana test in the Santiago Bernabéu, as Ronaldinho demonstrated a lesson in football.
Distintas opciones, Ronaldinho que se va solo, Ronaldinho, ¡gol! Se va por velocidad, Ronaldinho, se va a meter Ronaldinho, ¡golazo!
The Brazilian was given a big ovation by the fans, but as Salgado said that this was a way of punishing the Madrid players rather than a gesture of respect handed to the foe. The Brazilian Luxemburgo survived for 3 more matches before getting sacked after a dismal win against Getafe in the Bernabeu. Juan Caro came in as caretaker manager until the end of the season, as Saki left as well after being unsatisfied by the work being done, as Benito Floro came back to his position again. And the winter transfers didn't change much at the club as well, especially as it didn't change from the nightmarish outcome in the Romareda Stadium in the beginning of February, when Madrid faced Real Zaragoza in the first leg of the Copa del Rey semi-final, as Los Merengues lost in a historic match by 6-1, thanks to 4 goals by Diego Milito. And in the same month, in the round of 16 of the Champions League, Madrid faced a tough test against Arsenal. And before the match, Ronaldo had given some interesting quotes, as he criticized his own fans and said that the Bernabeu never showed him any love since he came to the club.
Wow.
And the quotes came in at a bad time before the important match, as Madrid lost by 1 goal thanks to Henry. And the captain Raul criticized his Brazilian teammate, as he said that he was being selfish and thought more about himself than the team. So when another loss came after 5 days in the league against Mallorca, which extended the gap from the leader Barcelona to 10 points, in came some shocking news, as Perez resigned from his position, and in the press conference was quoted saying that he may have spoiled the players too much, which made them confused. Another interesting thing after the resignation was the manager Caro's quotes, when he said that from now on he'll use players and not only names. But after failing to come back against Zaragoza in the return leg and crashing out of the Champions League, Madrid drew 6 out of 7 matches in La Liga, to kill all their hopes of claiming any title for the season. And after scoring his 100th goal for Los Blancos, Ronaldo was injured for the 5th time in the season, which could act as a summary for his career. And Zidane announced that he'll retire after the World Cup in the summer, and managed to score in his last match at the Santiago Bernabeu to announce the end of an era without any good signs for the future.
Wow.
While titles have been absent in the last 3 years, and many managers and directors have been recycled, Florentino Perez succeeded in his initial plan, which is to turn Real Madrid into a commercial and profitable machine. Based on Deloitte's report on the richest clubs in the world, Madrid claimed the top spot in the 2004-2005 season, and despite not winning any titles, Madrid kept their position through to the president's resignation in February of 2006. And he did that by shifting and changing the revenue composition of the club, as in 2001, the biggest share of revenue at the club was from broadcasting contracts with 42%. But all of that shifted in 2006, as Madrid had its biggest share of revenues coming from commercial activities at 43%. Which was mainly because of the Galácticos policy, which is a big factor in attracting global fans. That's why when we determine the success and failure of this era, opinions may differ. It's true that Perez resigned and lost the players and the fans, but he laid the blueprints for Los Blancos and maintained the financial health of the club for an extended period, as he comes back in the following years with a new perspective, acknowledging his mistakes so that he succeeds again.
Ojo el córner, ahora lo mete directo. Ahí está Modric, el remate.
Hey man, this is a good documentary. I have a lot of respect for Florentino Perez. I think he's a very, very talented manager. But one thing I want to say for sure is sometimes not all your plans just work out like how you have them on paper. You know, sometimes you gotta adapt on the fly, and if you fail to adapt, you get punished. You know, so let's take that as a lesson from this documentary. Thank you for all the support you guys have been showing me. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe. Been your boy, Jacob Joran, and I came to you live. Bow.